When you consider that South Park started out as a couple of idiots sliding cardboard cutouts along a piece of paper, it's fucking nuts to know that the show has remained on the air for 20 years now and still hasn't been cancelled. But remember, this show is fucking crazy. In the beginning, it was mostly just fart jokes and swearing and mocking celebrities, but as the show got older, it evolved into this huge, monumental pinnacle of cartoon excellence. Yeah, no, it's still pretty stupid. But it's almost deceptively stupid, because it'll often have really smart and interesting plot lines, but all the while there's stupid funny shit to balance it out. Even season 20, which is probably the worst season and will go down in history as such, it still had some great moments, like this one.
Sometimes I wish there were two of me. Oh wait, there are. Oh, Bill.
Yes, Bill.
Come on out here.
Hello, boys and girls.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Bill. And together we're Bill and Bill.
When you watch shit like Family Guy and The Simpsons, those shows simply don't have the same magic that they used to. Watching those shows is like watching corpses desperately trying to reanimate themselves. Go over to South Park. While some may argue it's not as good as it used to be, it's still fucking great as far as I can tell. Even just last Wednesday, there was an episode where old people in retirement homes are trafficking prescription drugs to children's entertainers in return for funny little German statues. It was hilarious. Let's go way back to 1998. South Park is still in its very early stages. It's just now become an international phenomenon. Naturally, there were video games to go along with it. On the topic of games, trust me, I really wish I could talk about the new one that just came out, but unfortunately this game still comes with a complimentary butt fucking by Uplay that I don't really care for. Now, if you know literally anything about video game history, you probably know that 1 part TV show and 2 parts video game is a recipe for a fucking disaster. The first game we got here is simply called South Park for the Nintendo 64. It was made by Acclaim and Iguana Entertainment.
What the? Dude, this is pretty f***ed up right here. Oh my god, they killed Kenny! You bastard!
Then you get this pretty faithful recreation of the opening theme from the show. It's actually pretty great. Now when you actually start the game, you get this cutscene where the 4 kids are waiting at the bus stop. Then Chef drives up to... Aww, Chef. Moment of silence for Isaac Hayes. So Chef shows up and tells them that the world is in danger because of a meteorite. Then he drives off. This is when the game begins. Now if you're at all familiar with the N64 library, you'll probably notice that this bears a striking resemblance to the Turok games. Shouldn't really come as a surprise as it's made by the same people. At this point, your main enemy is turkeys. That's right. Looks like Thanksgiving came with a fucking vengeance. Eventually you'll get different weapons like dodgeballs or dart guns. As you can imagine, it gets pretty repetitive and old fast. Okay, now we're fighting mutated Big Gay Al clones. I'm not sure if this is funny or just plain fucking bizarre. You can play as one of 4 characters, but they all play exactly the same, so it really comes down to which character you want to listen to the most. That's why I choose Cartman.
You will respect kick ass! Quick! Son of a bitch, I kick you in the neck!
Turns out that it doesn't really matter who you pick in the end anyways, because certain weapons are only usable by certain characters. As such, the game will force you to play as those characters depending on what weapon you're using. Pretty stupid if you ask me. The graphics are about as crappy as you'd expect, but it's not such a bad thing because one of the show's trademarks has always been its crappy animation style. The sound is good and bad at the same time. On the one hand, the music is very repetitive and annoying. But on the other hand, the game is fully voice acted, which is actually pretty sweet considering it's an N64 game. In the end, this really isn't much more than a mediocre shooter with the South Park license slapped on. There's definitely much worse games out there though. For example, Chef's Love Shack is so bad that it doesn't even work properly on the emulator. Which brings us to the final one, South Park Rally. The first game we looked at was a mediocre shooter with the South Park license. Now, I wish I could tell you that this is a mediocre Mario Kart knockoff with the South Park license, but unfortunately it is far worse than that. The frame rate reduces the game to something of a slideshow, or at best, a stop-motion animation. Part of me wonders if that was intentional. like a nod to the show's origins as a stop-motion cardboard thing, but it does not fly in a video game. And the worst part of it is, this is on an emulator on a very capable machine, so I can only imagine how bad the frame rate would be on original hardware. Now I'd like to acknowledge that it is possible that it's the emulator's fault, but since it doesn't do this kind of thing for any other game that I've played, I'm gonna go off on a limb here and say that it's probably not. This doesn't do the controls any favors either. What would already have been fairly crap controls are damaged further by the frame rate. It doesn't feel super responsive or satisfying, it just isn't fun. It handles like a crippled version of Diddy Kong Racing. That's the best way I can describe it. Yeah, that's right, hit him with Saddam Hussein. Wait, what? Oh my god, now that's amazing. This is a real game on a Nintendo system where Saddam Hussein is a weapon. Saddam Hussein in the palm of your hands. I take back everything I said.
Come on down South Park and meet some friends of mine.